Module 8 Charts. In Module 8 we'll be covering creating new charts, moving and resizing charts, using predefined layouts and styles, selecting and changing chart elements, changing the chart type, adding another data series, naming the data series, formatting and aligning titles, controlling grid lines, controlling axes, adding borders and colors, working with 3D charts, updating the data series, previewing and printing charts, some exercises and their solutions, and a final summary to go over what we've learned. So why use charts in Excel? Excel already portrays data in a rational manner that's easy to read, but using charts simplifies some very complex information and reduces the need to analyze long sets of data. This is particularly useful when some workbooks and worksheets have a vast array of data to work through. Using charts means data sets can be created and edited quickly in Excel, and also Excel will update the chart data whenever the workbook is edited. So let's start by creating a new chart. Like many things in Excel, there are always a variety of different ways of performing the same task. The simplest way to insert a chart into Excel is by going up to the Insert tab on the ribbon to find the Chart section in the center. The Chart section is split up into 3 areas: recommended charts, the different chart types, and the pivot chart function, which we'll come back to later. Another useful method of accessing the chart function occurs when we actually select the data sets we require. Once we've selected our data, the Quick Analysis function appears on the right. Selecting this gives us 5 different analysis options. Charts appears as the second one, and based on the data we've selected, a variety of charts are displayed. So let's go back to selecting the data sets and creating a chart. As you can see, I've created a simple spreadsheet based upon an imaginary football club. Our spreadsheet only has 4 data ranges: the fixture date, the crowd capacity, the ticket price, and the total sales. As there is a variety of different methods of generating charts, I'll go through each one in turn. When creating a chart in Excel, data must first be plugged into it. In this example, I'll use these 2 columns. Once my data has been selected, I go to the Insert tab, and for this one I'll choose Recommended Charts. Our window opens and our top 3 recommendations are stacked on the left. When choosing a chart for Excel, it's always best to see which chart best visualizes the data you're trying to represent. For this example, I'll use the middle one. Once I've selected a chart, a preview opens here on the right. Clicking OK will create the chart. On my chart, I can see that my 2 axes are represented here on the X and Y. On the Y axis, I have my capacity, and on the X axis, I have my data fixtures. So let's try another example. Clicking Delete on the keyboard will get rid of the chart. So let's try another method of inserting a chart into Excel. Again, charts require a data range, so we'll choose our 2 columns again. Go to the Insert tab on the ribbon, and here we have the individual chart types. Each chart type has a family of charts connected to it, and a live preview below to show what the chart will look like once it's initiated. Clicking on a chosen chart will insert it into Excel. I'll delete this and we'll look at the last method of creating a chart in Excel. As I mentioned previously, Excel always has a number of different methods to perform the same task. So selecting these 2 columns reveals the Quick Analysis button here on the right. Clicking this button, as I demonstrated before, opens up the analysis options, and charts is the second option. The charts that are revealed are the recommended charts. But if we want more charts, that option is here on the right. Left-clicking one of the charts inserts it into Excel. So now let's see what else we can do with charts. When we create a chart in Excel, we may not be happy with its position or its size. Right now our chart has appeared directly above our workbook and is in the way. When we move our cursor into the chart, we get 4 cardinal points beneath the cursor. Left-clicking and holding while this cursor is revealed allows us to move our chart into any position we wish. If we wish to put our chart below our workbook, for example, once we bring it to the edge of the worksheet, it will immediately start to scroll down. The same when we bring it to the top of the worksheet. Releasing the left button will drop the chart in the position we wish. To resize a chart, there are 8 toggles around the chart itself. 4 on the corners and 4 for the top, bottom, left and right. When resizing charts, you'll notice that the cursor changes to the double arrow. Left-clicking and holding allows us to resize the chart how we wish. You'll notice that the axes change in regard to the new size. If we wish to maintain the aspect ratio, that is, to keep the chart within the box exactly the same dimensions based on the ratio of size, just hold down the Shift button when resizing. Moving and resizing charts on our sheet is all well and good, but imagine we don't want charts cluttering up our workbook. Well, what we can do is move the entire chart to another sheet. Up on the ribbon is the Move Chart button. If we click this, we have 2 options. Our chart could be an object in Sheet 1, which is our current workbook, or we can move it to a new sheet altogether. And click OK. And now we have our workbook and our chart on a completely separate page. One of the very neat features of this, if there are any changes within our data ranges that are connected to the chart are changed, so imagine we change this to 12. Not only is our workbook updated, but our chart also changes. Excel contains a wide variety of options for changing the look, layout and style of a chart. Indeed, every element in Excel can be changed quite simply. One of the easiest methods to do this is to use the page layout formats available. To do this, select the Page Layout tab and go to Themes on the left. Rolling the mouse over the different themes available changes the live preview underneath to give you an idea of what the chosen theme will look like once selected. Each theme in Excel is made up of 3 separate subcategories: the colors, the fonts, and the effects. As effects are used for areas like borders and shading, we'll come back to this at a later time. Clicking on the colors options opens up the color palette, and again our live preview changes to reflect the selections in the color palette. The font selection opens up a variety of fonts and sub-fonts that are used within the Excel spreadsheet and the charts. So you're not hampered by just sticking to the themes, you can change individual elements of each theme. The page layout themes option is only useful if you intend to change the entire look of the workbook as well as the charts. We'll concentrate now on just changing the look of the charts. So changing the chart layout and style in Excel is quite easy. There are two options available to us. Firstly, when we select the chart, our Chart Tools tab opens here at the top in the ribbon. We also have a sub-menu here on the right-hand side next to the chart. Choosing the second option, Chart Styles, opens up a further window with two more options, the chart style and the color. The style offers us some predetermined layouts for our chart. The color, of course, offers us a palette of colors to choose from. These are split into two further categories of colourful and monochromatic. Colourful will give us a few different colours for our chart, whereas monochromatic will keep our chart within one colour band. The Chart Tools gives us further options. Again, here we have our predetermined layouts, and we also have our colour option here. Remember, when choosing a chart style and layout, less is always more. The purpose of a chart in Excel is to simplify complex information. Adding too many colours and fonts and different style changes to a chart can sometimes defeat this purpose. Every chart in Excel is made up of a number of different chart elements. These elements can be added, deleted, or modified as desired. Chart elements are areas such as the axes, the grid lines, the plot lines, the background, the chart title, and many others. To modify any chart elements, select the chart first. And we have two options available to us. We can select the Chart Element button here in the submenu, or we can use the Chart Tools tab and use the Add Chart Element button. Moving the mouse down over the different chart elements reveals other submenus that allows different changes to that element. For example, if we wanted to add a trend line to our chart, moving the mouse to trend line opens up a sidebar, and we can see a live preview of our trend line. We'll add a linear trend line to our chart. This time I'll use the submenu to the right of the chart. While our chart is very informative, it does need one or two other elements. Axis titles are very important to make sure that the chart corresponds to the area of the worksheet we're working from. Clicking on Axis Titles, and then you'll see that the two text boxes in the axes are now revealed. Clicking inside the text box and deleting the data allows us to type our own text. Learning how to use the chart elements in Excel is a very important step in visualizing the data in our charts to its best effect. There are even more methods in controlling the chart elements in Excel. For example, we can select our chart and then select the individual element we wish to change. So, selecting the chart title allows us to access the text box and change the text within it. Clicking outside our element deselects it. We can also change the axes. Double-clicking the axes opens up a sidebar on the right with even further options. As we can see in our spreadsheet, no number in our capacity data range falls below 2000. So let's change the minimum of our y-axis to 2000. As we can see, the chart updates to reflect this new data. Double-clicking on any element within the chart will open up our sidebar, which offers even further control to all our elements and use our data to its best effect. After spending some time creating our chart and changing its elements, we may find that the chart type we've chosen doesn't quite show our data in its best light. We can always change the chart type. There are a number of methods of doing this, and I'll go through each one. The first and simplest is to select our chart, right-click, and the Change Chart Type appears in the contextual menu. Clicking this will open the Change Chart Types window. The window has two tabs, Recommended Charts and All Charts. We'll go with the recommended for now and choose the second one. Again, a preview of what our chart will look like appears on the right. Clicking OK will change our chart. Another option appears in the Chart Tools tab at the top of the ribbon. Remember, the Chart Tool tabs will only appear if the chart is selected. If we deselect the chart tools disappear. Selecting the chart once again will make it reappear. In our Chart Tools tab, we go to Design, and again we have the Change Chart Type on the right hand side. Again, our Change Chart Type window opens with its two tabs, Recommended Charts and All Charts. This time we'll go for an area chart. We have different types available to us. These family of charts are all connected to each chart type. Clicking OK will again change our chart. Our last method to change the chart type exists in the Insert tab. If you remember way back at the beginning of the lesson, I showed you these different chart types here. Clicking any one of these will change the chart type. Some chart types are not appropriate for some types of data. Pie charts, for example, are not suitable where there is many different data points. It's very hard to work out proportions by the ratio of the angles used in the pie chart. So pie charts are really only used when there are small areas of data to cover. Okay, so adding data to charts. As you can see, I've deleted our last chart and I've slightly changed our worksheet. I've now added a fifth data range called Capacity A. This stands for Capacity for Away Fans. So our original data range, Capacity H, is our capacity for the home fans. So let's go ahead and make an exact copy of our last data chart. Again, we have our number of options available. Once we select our data, we can use the Quick Analysis tool and create a chart here, or we can go to Insert and use one of the options here. We'll go with the Recommended Charts, and we'll go for the line chart, which is our first option. And here's our chart. If you remember moving charts, we have our cardinal point on our compass. We hold down the left button and move it where we wish. Okay, so we need to add a third range of data to our chart. We have our capacity on the y-axis and our date on the x-axis, and our plot line as before. To add data to a chart, we have two different options. Up in our Chart Tools, under the Design tab, we have Select Data. We can also right-click within our selected chart and choose Select Data here. Clicking either will give you this option, and the Select Data Source window opens up. We'll just move this over here so we can see what we're doing. Now we need to add data to our chart, so we click on the Add button, and it asks us for two parameters. It asks us for the name of the series, and it also asks us the series values, or which data do we wish to add to our chart. For the series name, we'll click on Capacity A, and you see an absolute reference for that cell appears here. We know it's absolute because C3 has a $sign before each one of its coordinates. So it's a $C, $3. For our series values, we'll click on the side button and select the data we wish to add. Then we press return, or click our button to the right. Then we press OK, but as you can see already, our new data range has been added. Now, as we have two data values within our worksheet which are calculated in euros, we could have used these two data ranges for our chart. Unfortunately, the differential between hundreds of euros and millions of euros is so great that they would not have appeared on the chart. Remember, when adding data to a chart, it's always best to try and find the best type of chart to visualize it. We're now going to create a chart and name two sets of data series. Again, we'll choose the first two columns for our chart. Go to Insert, Recommended Charts, and choose the line chart. As you can see, it's the same chart we're used to in the past. The date on the x-axis and the capacity on the y. But we wish to add another set of data. To do this, we can either select data up here in the ribbon, or right-click and select data from the contextual menu. We're going to add another series of data. The series name is capacity 8, and the series value is the data range beneath. And we have the same chart we had before. Unfortunately, there's no way to define which set of plot lines comes from which data range. What we can do is add a legend to our chart. Go to the Chart Elements button in the submenu and select Legend. As you can see, capacity A is the line in orange, but we haven't named our capacity H. To do so, right-click again on our chart, go to Select Data. As you can see, Series 1 is already selected, and go to Edit. It asks for the series name in the top box. Click on Capacity H, which is B3. Again, our absolute reference is here, and click OK. Click OK again, and as you can see, our blue line is plotted and a legend defines it within our chart. So our chart is looking healthy and more informative as we go along, but we still need more details in our chart. We touched on this briefly before, but it is important to have labelled axes in your chart. To do this, we can either use the Chart Elements button on the right hand side, which opens up our window, or we can go to the Chart Tools at the top and add Chart Element. So Axes Titles is the second option down, which opens up our side menu, and we'll go for the primary horizontal first. And as you can see, our axis title is nicely defined as a text box just at the bottom on the x-axis of our chart. Selecting the text and changing it, then deselecting. Again, go back to Add Chart Element, Axis Title, and the primary vertical, and again change the text. Clicking away will deselect. And here we have a nicely defined chart with two sets of data series. So with our chart becoming more detailed, we may want to think about aligning and formatting the various titles and elements within our chart. The simplest method to do this is to select the chart and then select the element we wish to change. We can change the text within our chart title, and click away to deselect, and click once more to move it to a more visible position. That's one example. We can also use the Format option in the Chart Tools. Make sure that Charts Title is selected here. We could go to the Home tab and change the font size of the chart title. We can also change various other formats within this area too. We can change the color, or we can go back to format and change the box around our chart title. Further, we can double click our chart title to open the Format Chart Title option on the right. This gives us further options in changing how our chart title looks. We can change the vertical alignment, we can change the text direction, or we can even add a custom angle if we so wish. The same holds true with all the other elements within our chart. Clicking on any element within the chart and double-clicking opens up the many various options we have available to us to change any aspect of it that we wish. So as you can see, I've made some changes to our chart. I've added some colour to the text boxes and boldened some of the text just to emphasise the different elements and areas within the chart. In the background of the chart, we can also add grid lines. The Chart Elements box on the right hand side will open up this menu and allow us to add grid lines by ticking the box. The right arrow will also open up a submenu which allows us to add further grid lines should we need them. Clicking the More Options button opens up our side menu where even more options are available. We can go to a no-line grid line, solid line, a gradient, or automatic. We can change the color of the grid lines, we can change the transparency, and change the thickness of the line, as well as many other options. Another way of performing this task is by selecting the Chart Tools tab, going to Design and choosing the Add Chart Element button on the left hand side. Again, grid lines is available in our drop down menu with further options, much the same as they were with our Chart Styles button here on the right. Clicking the More Grid Lines option using this method again opens up our side menu with its many options available. We can even add effects to our grid lines. Again, select our chart and then either using the Add Chart Element or the Chart Elements button on the right, go to the grid lines, more options, and instead of using Fill and Line, select the Effects option instead. There are three effects here: shadow, glow, and soft edges. Presets are available in each one of these options. While these effects are available to charts, and indeed many elements within Excel, it's always best to remember that you're trying to represent data in a readable form. The more effects you add, the more you detract from this idea. I've made some quick changes to the spreadsheet. I've added this clear space so we have somewhere to place our charts. By now we should be well aware of how to create a chart in Excel. Firstly, we select our data, and then we can either use the Quick Analysis button here on the right and choose a chart from there, or we can go to the Insert tab up on the ribbon and use one of the chart options in the center. I'll just move our chart to a more visible position. Okay, we're well used to this chart by now. We have our dates on the x-axis and our capacity on the y. We also have our two data ranges here, represented by the blue and orange lines. We also know how to add more data to an existing chart. We go to the Select Data, go to Add, select the series name, Total Sales, and then select the data range we wish to use. Then OK twice. And as you can see, our new data range is represented here by the grey line. Unfortunately, our other two data ranges, our capacity H and our capacity A, are plotted very low down on the x-axis. The reason for this is because the y-axis has a range that is far too great for these data ranges to be plotted in our graph. So we need to have more control over our axes. Unfortunately, this type of chart won't let us do this. So what we can do is change the chart type and choose a combo chart. A combo chart lets us decide which series to add into our chart and also how they're represented. In this case, we'll go for bars for our capacity data series and a line for our total sales. We also need to add a secondary axis. And then we click OK. As you can see, our graph updates and changes. Our legends stay the same with our blue, orange and grey data series. But now we have euros plotted on the y-axis to the left and capacity plotted on the y-axis to the right. The date axis on the x remains unchanged. But now we can see capacity worked out in blue is plotted against the right-hand side, as is the orange capacity A data series. Our total sales series stays the same, but is plotted against the left-hand side against the euro. Remember, while Excel is very good at calculating the chart based on the data we select, some chart types just don't work and may require some experimentation. If I change this chart type, all three of our data ranges still exist, but two have now disappeared. Another neat function Excel performs when creating charts is giving names to the actual data series we select. In the past, when we created a chart, we selected just the data we wanted, created our chart, and Excel gave each data series the name Series 1, Series 2, 3, 4, and so on, depending on how much data we added to our chart. If we wish to add the actual names of the data series to our chart, all we have to do is make sure we pick up the series name when we select our data. In other words, select date, capacity, and capacity A, as well as the data, create our chart, and as you can see, the data series has now been labeled correctly. This also happens when we go to add new data to our chart. If we go to Select Data and Add, the first parameter is series name. If we click on Total Sales, you can see that the absolute cell reference is added as the series name. Once we select our data and plug that into our chart, you can also see that the series name has been updated as well. Our chart is already nicely clear and informative. We've managed to convert this cluster of data here into a readable graph that's easily understood, but we can improve upon its look with borders and colours. To modify the borders and colours, we have two options. We can select our chart and use the design options on the right, or use the chart tools at the top. The easiest way of changing the look of our chart is to use the chart styles options available beneath. Running the mouse over will give a live preview of what the chart will look like once selected. We can also change the colours between a colourful chart with a range of colour palettes here, or a monochromatic chart where the colours remain within one band. If we wish further control, we can double-click our chart to open up our side menu, which gives us further options. Let's start with the fill. There are 6 options here, ranging from no fill, solid fill, gradient, picture or texture, pattern fill, or automatic. Automatic in this case is automatic as set by the chart style that we chose earlier. We can also change the backfill color by clicking on our color bucket here and selecting a different color. We can also convert the transparency or the opacity as we so desire. We can also add a border at this location, ranging from no border to a solid line to a gradient line or automatic. But as our chart is selected, the selection box around the chart stops us from seeing the line. So I'm going to choose a solid line and click away from our chart. The line is there, but it's very thin. So let's change the thickness of the line. Line thickness is always measured in points, much the same as font sizes. And again, we have other options connected to the border. I'll just click away again. And as you can see, we have a much thicker red line border around our chart. So as you can see, it's very easy to take control of a chart in terms of color and border. We touched on this briefly before, but the same methods can also be applied to any element within the chart. Clicking on an element within the chart also opens up the same options in our right menu. Once we click the Fill and Line button, the fill, border and other options all become available. We can add a gradient fill axis label, as well as giving it a border. Clicking on each element opens up these options. We can also do the same thing with the data series. This blue line, for example, for the total sales is a little too thick and too near this blue to be of much use. If we click on the data series, again our fill and line options are available. We'll go for a solid line in white and a slightly thinner width. And we can do the same thing with the other data ranges. Go for a solid fill, change the color, and add or remove a border as we see fit. And there we have our chart with our updated elements using the different border and color options available. Just before we finish with this area, I'd just like to point out that when we made the changes through our chart, you'll notice that the legends all updated to reflect the changes to the color, width, border, and style. Creating a 3D chart is a great way of adding depth to your work. A 3D chart is made like any other chart in Excel. Start by selecting your data. Then using either the Quick Analysis tool or the Insert tab on the ribbon, and open the Insert Chart window. Click on the All Charts tab. With our various types of chart on the left, each type of chart has a family of charts connected to it. 3D charts are among the options available. Clicking on a 3D chart type will give us a quick preview of what our chart may look like. And there we are. We can also create a normal chart and turn it 3D. Again, the same method as before. Select our chart, then go to the Change Chart Type, and we can either choose a 3D chart from the chart type we've chosen, or select a completely new one. As a rule, 3D charts work best with less data ranges. The more data ranges in a chart, the more complicated a 3D chart can look. Modifying a 3D chart can be very easy. I'm going to make a simple one data series chart here. And again, we'll stick with the columns. And there's our 3D chart created for us. We can embellish this chart further. Firstly, select the dataset to open up our side menu. We have various options here. We can increase or decrease the gap depth to the chart and the gap width between the data. We can also change the shape of the columns from a box to a pyramid to a cylinder. Going to the Fill and Line section, we can also change the various color aspects. A gradient, for example, gives it a far better 3D shading than just a plain solid color. We can also change the material of the columns to be more reflective or translucent. The full range of control for 3D charts is always available in the sidebar. One of the most useful features about charts in Excel are their ability to update data. We'll stick with our 3D chart from our last session. When we select our chart, we can see that the data on the chart is referenced to this set of cells. If we change any value in the cell, the chart changes to reflect the change in data. If we add data to our cell range, the chart won't update automatically. We have to tell the chart that the data is available. When we select our chart, again we see that our cell range is selected. All we need to do to include this new data is to grab the toggle on the corner and encapsulate the new area. And as you can see, the new cell data is updated here on the right. We can use the same method to make our charts smaller or larger depending on how much information we need to impart. Again, grabbing the corner, left clicking and holding, and dragging up through the cells will encapsulate just those cell areas that we wish to portray in our chart. Another incredibly useful feature about updating charts in Excel is their ability to update charts across packages. To give you an example of this, I'll go ahead and open up Microsoft Word. I'll start a blank document, go back to Excel, select our chart, copy the chart, go back to Word, and paste it into the Word document. As you can see, it's an exact replica of the same chart we have in Excel. If I change the data in our chart in Excel, our chart in Excel updates automatically. If we go back to Word, we find that the chart in Word also automatically updates. If at a later stage we change the data in Excel and then come back to our Word document, we can select our Word document, go to Chart Tools, and refresh the data from the Excel page. One last feature about updating charts from a cell range is not only can we click and drag to include particular cell ranges, but we can also slide our selection to choose particular areas of cells we wish to include. Each time we do this, the chart will always update. Previewing and printing a chart in Excel is really very simple. If we just wish to print the chart, all we need to do is select the chart, go to the File menu, and go down to Print. As you can see, a preview opens here on the right, showing how our chart will appear on the page. We have other options available as well. We can change the paper size, and we can also change the orientation. This gives us the best possible appearance on the page. Once we're happy with how our chart appears, we just press Print. If we wish to include our chart and our cell range, first we need to select the areas we wish to print. So selecting our cells and our chart, we go to the File menu. And again we go down to Print. As we can see, with our current page orientation, we're cropping quite a large part of our chart. So we can change the portrait orientation to landscape, and now we can see that more of our area has been included in our print. Unfortunately, we're still cropping our chart. What we can do is go down to the scaling option and fit the sheet on one page. Of course, this option may not always be available to us depending on the size of our spreadsheet and the size of our chart. Once we're happy with the preview, all we need to do is press Print. So let's summarize charts in Module 8. Always remember that less is more. We've seen Excel offers many different features, ranging from color, style, and effects. But the more complicated a chart looks, the less effective it will be. Always try to find the best chart to suit the data. As we've seen, pie charts are great for small data sets, but can look complicated and appear confusing when using large data sets or numerous data sets. Always remember what a chart is for. A chart in Excel is designed to make complex sets of data more understandable and readable. We hope you enjoyed Module 8, and thanks again.